I was living in a major city about 5 years ago, and I had this habit of taking long walks at night to clear my head. It was around 2 a.m. on a Wednesday, and the streets were completely dead, the kind of silence that feels heavy. I was walking down a wide side street when I noticed him. About half a block ahead, there was a man dancing. It was a strange, rhythmic dance, almost like a waltz, but he was moving forward instead of in circles. He was tall and lanky, wearing an old suit that looked slightly too small for him. As he got closer, I realized he was leaning his head way back, staring directly at the sky, his mouth pulled into a wide, fixed grin. I stopped. I didn't want to pass him, so I crossed the street to the other sidewalk. When I got to the other side, I looked back. He had stopped dancing and was standing on the opposite curb, facing me. His head was still tilted back, but his eyes were now leveled right at mine. My stomach dropped. I started walking again, faster this time, keeping my eyes locked on him. When I was about a block away, I glanced back. He was gone. For a second, I felt a wave of relief. Then I saw him. He was on my side of the street now, crouched down low in a sprinter stance. Before I could even process it, he started moving, not running, but doing that same exaggerated giant step dance, only he was moving incredibly fast. "Can I help you?" I yelled, my voice cracking. He didn't say a word. He just stopped dead in his tracks about 10 feet away. He stood there, swaying slightly, that massive, insane grin never leaving his face. We stood there for what felt like an hour, just staring at each other. Finally, he turned around. He started walking away slowly, back toward where he came from. I watched him go, leaning against a brick wall, my heart hammering against my ribs. I waited until he was a tiny speck in the distance. I took a deep breath, thinking it was over. But I kept watching. Far down the block, the speck stopped, turned, and then he started sprinting. He wasn't dancing anymore. He was coming at me at full speed, arms flailing, his face still locked in that horrific smile. I didn't wait. I turned and ran until I hit the main lit-up avenue and didn't stop until I was locked inside my apartment. I never went for a walk at 2 a.m. again. I used to work the closing shift at a diner off a lonely stretch of highway. It was a 40-minute drive home, mostly through back roads where the trees grow so thick they overarch the pavement like a tunnel. It was about 3:15 a.m. I was exhausted, the kind of tired where your eyes start to play tricks on you. I was the only car on the road for miles until I saw a pair of headlights in my rearview mirror. They were far back at first, just 2 pinpricks of white. But within minutes, they were right on my bumper. I slowed down to let them pass, but they slowed down too. I sped up to 70. They stayed glued to me. I figured it was just an asshole in a truck, so I flipped my rearview mirror to the night, setting to block the glare, and ignored them. Then the driver started flashing their high beams. Every 30 seconds, the world inside my car would turn blinding white, then pitch black. My heart started thumping. I was terrified they were trying to run me off the road. I reached for my phone, but it had died an hour into my shift. As I neared my turnoff, I decided I wasn't going home. I didn't want this person knowing where I lived. There was a gas station another 5 miles up that stayed open 24/7. I floored it. The truck stayed with me, flashing its lights rhythmically. I swerved into the gas station lot, tires screeching, and slammed on the brakes right in front of the glass doors. I honked my horn like a maniac. The attendant, a kid not much older than me, came running to the window. The truck pulled in right behind me, but the driver didn't get out. They just sat there, engine idling, headlights still beaming into my cabin. The attendant came outside, looking confused. As he approached my car, the truck suddenly threw it into reverse, spun around, and screamed back out onto the highway, disappearing into the dark. I tumbled out of the driver's seat, shaking, crying, trying to explain to the kid that someone had been chasing me for 10 miles. "I saw," the kid said, his face pale as a sheet. "I saw him. The driver," I gasped. "Did you see his face?" "No," the kid whispered, looking at the empty highway. I didn't see the driver, but every time he flashed his brights, I could see the man in your back seat. He was sitting right behind you, holding a butcher knife, and every time the lights hit him, he'd duck back down below the window. I lived alone in a studio apartment in the city. It was one of those old buildings with high ceilings and drafty, floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over the fire escape. I'm a heavy sleeper, but one night, I woke up at 3 a.m. for no reason. The apartment was dead silent, but I felt that distinct, heavy sensation of being stared at. I lay perfectly still, my eyes scanning the room in the dark. Everything looked normal. My desk, my bookshelf, the small kitchen nook. I eventually convinced myself it was just a nightmare and turned to face the wall to go back to sleep. As I shifted, I heard a faint, rhythmic sound. It sounded like fingernails dragging very lightly against the drywall. It was coming from the corner behind my bed, right where the headboard met the wall. I froze. I didn't want to turn around. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I lay there for what felt like 10 minutes, listening to the silence, praying it was just the building settling or a mouse in the walls. Then I heard a breath. It wasn't a draft. It was a slow, deliberate exhale, soft, wet, and unmistakably human. Came from right behind my head. I didn't think. I just rolled off the bed, scrambled to my feet, and bolted for the front door. I didn't even look back. I sprinted into the hallway, screaming for help, and banged on my neighbor's door until he opened it, looking panicked and confused. He called the police, and when they arrived, they searched my apartment. There was nobody there. The windows were locked from the inside, and the front door was bolted. The officers were starting to look annoyed, like I was just a stressed-out student having a breakdown. One of the officers walked over to my bed to check the perimeter one last time. He pulled the headboard away from the wall to check the gap. He didn't find a person, but he found a Polaroid picture stuck to the wall with tape. It was a photo of me, taken from the perspective of someone standing directly above me while I was sleeping in that very bed. It had been taken from the inside of the apartment. I moved out the next morning. I never found out who it was, but to this day, I can't sleep with my bed against a wall. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content.